Hi, I'm the Nomad Dad. I'm Bob Henderson. I'm here to talk about what the executive producer at Nomad Capitalist would like me to discuss today. And the title of the shift in media, Profit versus Truth. I was in the media for 25 plus years, had a long career in the investment business as well, some overlapping. I was in radio, first in top 40 radio, later in talk radio in the 1990s, got to meet some amazing people and interviewed a couple of presidents during that period of time and that sort of thing. Got a trip to the White House. And I was on TV for a couple of years doing business news as well, mostly in Cleveland, where I was in business. And interestingly, we talk about how things come and go around the world. Cleveland, when I was there in the early 1970s, when I went to college there, it was a top 10 market. I believe it was number 10. Today it's number 35. And this happens to cities. This happens to countries. Again, why you need a plan B, so on and so forth, plan B, plan C. Cleveland's just a microcosm of some of what is going on around not only the U.S., but other parts of the legacy countries, as Andrew calls them, the Western countries. So let's talk about the media. Now, look, you can disagree with this if you want, but the media, for the most part, has always been left of center, the primary media, whether it's the major newspapers, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the major publications, many of the magazines no longer in existence, the network news on the major networks back in the old days, ABC, CBS, NBC, they were always left of center. They would never admit it, and today they make no pretense whatsoever. However, we now have niche media in the U.S., and I can only speak to the U.S. because I'm extremely familiar with it. So I'm not talking about, say, in Great Britain or Canada or what have you. But in the United States, it's niche media. So you've got those on the left, CNN, particularly MSNBC. I think CNBC skews to the left sometimes. I'll watch some of these people and it's like they're just twisting themselves to, it disgusts me. But anyway, then on the right, of course, you've got Fox News. On the left, they make no pretense whatsoever. Even Fox, I rarely watch any of it, but when I see maybe some snippets on YouTube, Fox they will have a certain premise in mind, and they will ask questions to prove that premise. And they're leading questions, and I don't think that we're necessarily learning a lot about the situation. I mean, when I was in school, I did take journalism courses, what, why, when, where, how. That's how we were supposed to write. I'd love to go back to that. I don't want to know when you're writing a news story, unless it's an opinion piece, a specifically labeled commentary. I don't want to know what your political belief is. I just want to know what, why, when, where, how. I want the actual news. I have been to events. It could even be a sports event. I'm saying, that's what you took away? I didn't see that at the game. Or I've been to political rallies. He didn't say that. That didn't happen. So there's too much of that. And it's just magnified today. So, but bottom line, because the title of this was Profit versus Truth. It's always been about profit. It always has been about profit. There's no question about it. There was a thing during my early years. In fact, this went up through the late 80s. And I think at the end of the Reagan administration, 88 or so, 1988 or so, we had a thing in the United States called the Fairness Doctrine. Well, it really was unfairness. But essentially what that said was, you must take both sides, have both sides on your radio station or television stations if there's a particular issue that you want to discuss. You must present both sides. Which in theory sounds good, but in reality what happened was broadcasters just wouldn't discuss the issue because they didn't want to have to go to the hassle of bringing both sides in, either because they didn't want to hear the side that didn't agree with or because it was too cumbersome. So that was repealed, and I thought that was great. And of course, whether you agreed with him or not, this is what led to the rise of people like Rush Limbaugh, because now they did not have to equal or offer equal time to an opposing point of view, this fairness doctrine. And that's government speak, fairness. It was anything but fairness. And it left people in the dark. We should be better informed now because there's so many news sources, but they are absolutely cluttered with ideology as opposed to what, why, where, who, and when. I mean, these things that we learned in journalism school are long out the door. I can give you one personal example, which I did not like. I was doing talk radio at one point, and I was to interview the president, who was going to call into my show, the president of the United States. And I was told that I'd be sharing the questions with one of the people from the news department. Fine. The person from the news department said to me, let's ask a question that will trap this person and get them flustered, and maybe they'll say something and we can get credit in the national media for it. And I thought, is that the purpose? Isn't the purpose to find out what this person thinks about the particular question? I would try to ask questions that I thought the audience in the car or at home would want to ask if they had the opportunity to ask whoever it was, in this case, the President of the United States. Whether I agreed with this president or not, I wasn't going to give them softball questions, because all of them, there's going to be something that, they don't want to talk about, but need to be addressed respectfully. But let's get an answer. And that's not where this person was coming from, and that has only gotten worse over the last 25 years or so, where it's all about, the personality is there to make a name for themselves and to spout a point of view, and if they can, to embarrass whoever it is that they're interviewing, if it's in a hostile environment, or to have somebody on to promote a particular point of view without getting to the truth. And in our postmodern society, the truth has really been shoved aside. It's really hard to find the truth today. And one last comment. I was reading something recently. There was a proposition, I forget the number, 2 or 3 years ago in Portland, that's had all kinds of problem with local crime and homelessness and whatnot. And this proposition was designed to, help the homeless. Well, it hasn't. And some of the local businesses are losing business as a result. And I saw a woman in an article quoted as saying, well, I was for making changes because it's clearly not working. But a couple of Republicans came up with an idea. And if they are for it, I'm against it. Well, maybe she's not a Republican. And I'm sure the Republicans aren't right 100% of the time. But if they had an idea that she thought they made sense, their party label should make no difference whatsoever. We need to stop this whole idea of you're on this team, I'm on this team, much like leftist media, rightist media, and let's find the truth. There's probably enough that overlaps from each side. You have a circle, and some goes in this part of the circle and some here, so there's some overlap, that we can come up with some kind of solution to the problem, rather than, well, if that side's for it, I'm against it, even though I think it's a good idea. That's what is such a problem in the society today. And the media is just exacerbating the problem, just making it worse, and the divisions farther and farther apart. It's coming from the media. I see very little in the truth in the media today. And as a result, they're held in contempt by the majority, vast majority of the American public. So it's a lot worse than I was in the media, and I didn't think it was particularly good then. Leave comments. I can address them in a future video. I'm Bob Henderson. I'm the Nomad Dad.